Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's Last Post ceremony. My name is Lexa Peterson, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Air Force is Squadron Leader Stacey Davids. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. The live stream of this ceremony is made possible by the Returned and Services League of Australia and the RSL and Services Clubs Association. We welcome members who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by visitors to the memorial and students on behalf of Salt Ash Public School from Salt Ash, New South Wales. If you're able, please stand and join in singing the National Anthem.
Australians, all let us rejoice, for we are one and free. We've golden soil and wealth for toil, our home is got by sea. Our land abounds in nature's gifts of beauty, rich and rare. In history's page, let every stage advance Australia fair. In joyful strains, then let us sing, advance Australia fair.
Students, please be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where family and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 103,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today, we remember and pay tribute to Flight Sergeant Jack Garfield Beer. Jack Beer was born in Sale, Victoria, on the 27th of April, 1919, the son of Stanley and Elisheba Beer. He attended Pleasant Street Central School and then Ballarat High School before going on to study accountancy. He worked for 5 years as a bookkeeper with Jonathan Reeve Limited in Ballarat. On the 21st of June 1940, Jack Beer enlisted in the Royal Australian Air Force. Initially mustering as a clerk, after a year of service, Beer remustered as aircrew in June 1941 and began training as a pilot. After attending elementary flight training school in Tasmania and service flying training school in Deniliquin, he married his sweetheart, Millicent June Smith, on the 21st of February, 1942. In March, he joined an operational training unit based in Sale, Victoria. In September, he transferred to No. 3 Squadron. Initially based at Point Cook, the squadron was given an Army cooperation role, deploying to the Middle East to support the 6th Division. The squadron was to spend the war in the Mediterranean theater, operating as a fighter squadron as part of the Desert Air Force, directly supporting the British 8th Army. The squadron's fortunes were thus linked with their comrades on the ground. Back and forth across the Libyan desert, the two armies went, attacking and retreating. Bardia, Tobruk, Benghazi, followed by Gazala and El Alamein. The Desert Air Force went everywhere, at times operating from makeshift forward airstrips. Towards the end of 1942, the Allied air forces had gained the upper hand. By November, after El Alamein, they took part in the pursuit of Rommel's forces all the way back to Tunisia. Fighter aircraft such as 3 Squadron's Kitty Hawks harried and strafed the Germans all the way. In May 1943, the Axis forces were cornered in Tunis. Some 250,000 enemy troops surrendered there. With the enemy forced out of North Africa entirely, the next step in the Mediterranean campaign was the capture of Sicily. In early July 1943, British and American troops landed on the island. A bitter struggle ensued, and once more the Air Force were called upon for support. On the 22nd of July 1943, Beer was the pilot of a Kitty Hawk taking part in a bombing and strafing raid on a road near the town of Nicosia in central Sicily, west of Mount Etna. The air formation met with some anti-aircraft fire from heavy tanks in the area. After the group had bombed a section of the road packed with motor vehicles, it made 2 strafing attacks on the road. Flight Sergeant Beer's aircraft was last seen by Flying Officer Matthews, flying south and well inside the Allied line. Matthews called upon him on the radio and asked if he was all right, to which he replied, yes. However, he failed to return from his mission. He was presumed killed, and it was later learned that he had in fact been killed. He was 24 years old. Today, his remains lie in Catania War Cemetery in Sicily, beneath the epitaph chosen by his grieving family. Forever remembered and greatly loved, parted till he come. His name is listed on the roll of honor on my left, among almost 40,000 Australians who died while serving in the Second World War. A photograph of Beer with other members of No. 3 Squadron RAAF is displayed today by the Pool of Reflection. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Flight Sergeant Jack Garfield Beer, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the ode and sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozieres or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over, but in Australia they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of the director, staff and volunteers, thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today and for your continued support during the memorial's development project. We wish you all a very pleasant evening. Thank you.